Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And it's that time of the week again for the Rant. And today I'm going to be talking about the danger of comedy. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Jade and this is How to App on iOS, and I hope you are all doing well. It is Monday morning here in Australia, Sunday for the rest of you living way behind trying to catch up to us. Will you ever catch up? I don't know. I can't see it happening, but I hope you're all doing well. As always, I want to welcome our Wart Warriors, because you can become a Wart Warrior by clicking the join button down below. $1 a month, and you get custom emojis to throw around the chat, have a bit of a laugh with, in case the show here is not that entertaining. I think I look at the emojis like the beach ball that gets thrown around at the sporting event when nothing's happening, just in case I'm boring you absolutely titless and you want something to do. But it does help the channel if you'd like to become a member and all of that jazz. Let's say hello to you all, and then we'll get into today's topic of comedy. Hey, you ready for this one? Whew. Yeah, I don't have any idea what I'm going to say. Chris Lane Sr. is in the house. We've got Ed B. Mental. Thomas Christ is banging us with the the super stickers. You can do all that stuff too, as Thomas tells you down below here. And there's the join link if you'd like to join as well. Joe Glenn's here. Fishy's swimming around. We got audible videos in the house. There's Tom saying hello to Fish. Mike Haggarth's hanging out with us. G'day, Mike. I saw lots of people at the top. Let me see. Valerie Bart. Hello, Val. At least I got to catch the end of your show today. Laurie's Mishmosh. There's a really funny, entertaining human being right there. She's got a good sense of humour. Chad Freeman's joined us. I can't see up any higher. Let me just check it right up the top. Ed Mental and Valerie, who I've said hello to. Pookie, I've got to do it. Pookie. Nice and quick. Anyone else I've missed? Let me scroll. Ali, Legs 11, Rant on. I'm ranting on. I'm going to do it. I'm saying a lot. What am I doing? No ums. Stop it. All right, let's scroll to the bottom, see if I missed anybody. I think we're all good. All right, we're going to get into it. So let's talk about comedy. Now, I need to preface this show by letting you know, Still Illa, hello. Still Illa, welcome as well. Fat Panda Cat, g'day. I'm seeing a few other names that I missed. All right, I am no expert on comedy, all right? Let's just get this out the water. I'm not an expert, but what I do have is experience. So just so you know, I'm not telling you how to be a comedian or anything like that, but I do have experience, and not just experience like you see in the world that we have where, you know, we live in a world now where people get told, you see it on things like American Idol and stuff, people get told, but you're a really good singer, you should go on American Idol. And then they go and they sing and they sound like absolute don't they? Because they're being told by people who love them and say, you're really this, and really they're not, because it's a different world sitting there talking with your friends, hanging out and being funny with private jokes and stuff that are all into your little world, than actually getting on the stage and being publicly paid, or like here on YouTube, and being a comedian. It's a totally different thing, right? Because you got to take into account a lot of factors being a comedian. And let's start off by just talking about some styles of comedy. I mean, there's Marcel Marceau. That was a form of comedy. That actually made people laugh. I don't know how. I find it ridiculous that somebody does that as comedy. But that's where I find the joke. You have observational humor, blue humor, innuendo, right? You've got character-based humor. There's so many different styles. Sitcoms, right? So many styles of humor. Television shows that are very dry and don't rely on a laugh track, then you have things like that have a laugh track to prompt you when to laugh, which I find insidious. Has anybody ever watched The Addams Family and laughed at the laugh point? I can't remember ever I'm laughing with the actual laugh track. Whoever programmed the laugh track in a lot of that old school comedy, I think I don't know, had an itchy finger and just used to I need to press it. I gotta do my job and just keep pressing that button but it was never at the right point. And it happens a lot too with sitcoms and stuff like that. So look, there's so many styles of comedy. There's very, edgy humor as well. There's woke humor, right? Then there's anti-woke humor. We're going to delve into the reasons why some of these things exist as we go on today. Hello, Hugh Caldwell. Clicked the wrong one, and I think I saw Blue Unicorn. And Jenny Jolivet, hello. But let's talk about the origins of the comedian. Where did the origins of the comedian? Now, the court jester is in my stupid mind, because I don't really want to do any research on this. I don't do research. What are you, mad? The court jester was one of the early comedians that not only was given full reign to entertain and even diss the king, right? They had the power to slag the king off when nobody else would. It would be off with your head, right? Mr. Smith, right? So back then, that's what the court jester's role was. Now, the court jester's role was probably good for a time, but Leela, hello Leela, there I see you there. The court jester's time was short, wasn't it? Because, they get away with it and, hello Limey Redneck. The court jester would get away with it for a while and be the toast of the castle. So hilarious stuff until the king was like, you know what, you probably shouldn't have said that about me, fucking. Right? And they were gone. They were very expendable, the court jesters. But how woke were they? Because you got to think that a court jester not only had privileges to know things that the general populace wouldn't know about the king, right? They would know things that they could say and that they couldn't say about the king. Was that the earliest time of the term woke being a thing? Because I'm sure the king would sit down with the jester or the queen, right, and say, you can say this and I give you free rein to say this, but if you say this, you're dead. So that's the real cancelling. That you really got cancelled back then. It wasn't like this bullshit weak Crimea River crap that you see now on Twitter and stuff or X going, I got cancelled, right? Nobody gets cancelled. This is rubbish. And if you think it exists, you're stupid. Go slap yourself in the face. But that, I think, was the earliest sign of being, cancelled. You were displeased, the king is the jester, and you got done. You were done. That's it. You're dead. There's no, not being able to post on Twitter kind of thing. But the thing was about comedians and why I'm referencing the jester is how important comedians have been since those times going forward, right? Very important. Now let's just focus on where we're at now, and then we'll backpedal. Just a second. Because where we are now is social media has given everybody a place to have their stupid opinion about politics and all this stuff. Right? And because everybody has a place now to vent their idiotic opinion, and when people get upset about it and disagree, this is the ingredients for people to hate each other. We're back. Let's even just go just 30 years back when 40 years. Let's go 40 years and count, just say there's no internet, right? No social media, no internet. And opinions weren't so easy to plaster everywhere. So comedians were a group of performers that we actually relied upon to talk about the things that we never used to talk about. What's the saying? Don't talk about politics and religion. It used to be a thing, remember? Now everybody's just like, well, people are so, they just want to mix it all together and all that stuff. But comedians, there was the place to go where a comedian would stand there and say all the shit that you want to say. And you could do it at a festival, at a comedy club or wherever it was, and you could sit with people that had differing opinions than you, and you could all laugh together because the comedian was there to say the home truths, to walk the line, to be dangerous, and sometimes cross the line, and you went, oh, I don't know about that. But the idea was that you went out to laugh, and you went out to shake off the blues of the world, the impending doom of the world and the constant stress of everything moving so fast and the media wanting to tell you that everything's scary and you're going to die tomorrow. Right? But now social media exists. So now everybody's a fucking comedian, aren't they? Right? So everybody's the fucking comedian. Everybody's got jokes and they're all got their, and everybody gets butthurt so easy about these things. So much so that when somebody goes to a comedy show, comedians are under even more scrutiny than before, right? Where you go back 50 years, 40, 50 years, some of the things that comedians were saying, there's no way you can say now. But that was the point of the comedian. That was the point of the jester, to be able to say the stuff about the king that the people were actually saying behind the king's back, that the people couldn't say out loud. That's what it's there for, to make people laugh, to make people get out of that unease, to help people emote and take a load off. Take a load off, man, because the pressure builds, you know, the fear is, because this ain't a new thing. The world we're living in now, where the fear of news outlets and governments and all these people who just want to keep you, you know, feeling like dog shit all the time. That's always been there, you know. The queens of yesteryear wanted to cut your fucking head off. That's if you didn't serve them. And the jester got that special right to do so. And that's what comedy, look at George Carlin, all right? The perfect example, George Carlin, what is he? Is he a comedian? Was he a comedian? Was he a social commentator? I mean, was he a politician? You know, it's a very fine line to walk there, because he's telling truths. He's telling it as it is. I think where comedy, I'm not sure we should think of it as woke or unwoke. Look, you know my opinion on woke. I'll talk about it later on. I think anybody who uses the term woke to try and, like, I don't know, go, oh, you're a fuckhead, right? Yeah. Like, do you not understand the English language? Like, you know, would you rather be asleep at the wheel? I don't understand. I don't understand the insult. You're awake. Okay, cool. What are you actually saying they're awake to? What, being nice to someone? Just like putting somebody first before yourself for a fucking microsecond? I mean, that's a completely different thing, right? And we can get into the debate of like the left and right, but both sides are full of maniacs. People are maniacs these days. They've lost the sense of like just being able to hold a civil conversation without getting butthurt. Let me tell you, I've done shows on here on the Rant telling you about people sending me emails weekly telling me they want me to die. Am I woke for like saying, hey, don't do that? What is it, you know? I see people write the woke stuff and it's just stupid. You're just an idiot. You're just a victim. Anybody who's going around saying fucking I'm getting cancelled, you're a fucking victim. And anybody who cries about someone being woke or like you're a victim, you're the victim, right? That's it. Because times have changed with comedy. And, you know, it's hard for comedians these days. Look, it's hard enough. I don't know how many people who are watching this have ever been worked within the profession of comedy. Let me tell you, it's not what you expect. I know there's a lot of musicians who watch this, right? And you know the deal. If you've played gigs, or if you haven't played gigs, you know the deal. You roll up to a gig, you maybe do a sound check. You've got to deal with people who run the venue that you play. Most venue owners can be total assholes. There's a whole lot of levels of people within the industry who are trying to rip you off. Then you've got the gig you've got to play. You've got to hope everything goes off. Are you going to get enough people there to the show? How many tickets are you going to sell? Are people buying alcohol? Is everything going to go okay on stage? Am I going to play my songs all right? There's a whole lot to a performance. And comedy is exactly the same. It's just one person. But from my time as a comedian and performing across festivals and doing it professionally and being paid, it's a really tough gig, yeah? It's a super tough gig. And of course I'm not going to I try never to paint everybody with a single brush stroke, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of comedians who are struggling mentally and with alcoholism and depression. The irony does not escape me, let me tell you that comedians, for the most part, are quite, inward people who have some problems, and some of those problems are hopefully solved with some alcohol. And I think most of us know that that's never really the case. Pouring your pain into, a vice doesn't always come out the best way. But it's incredible the amount of comedians. Of course, I'm not going to name people or anything like that, but the amount of comedians who, oh, man, got some shit going on. And it surprises me how they can get up there and perform. And the opposite is just, to get up there and their whole thing is to seek laughter. Let's talk about bombing on stage. Let's go into that, because bombing on stage is a very integral part of doing comedy, and it can go wrong really easy. Really, really easy. The first way things can go wrong is if you've been told your whole life by somebody, right, that you're really funny, okay, and you take up comedy. Guess what? It may not work, but it may work. The thing is, just because you have people around you, your family and stuff tell you that you're really funny, it doesn't always translate when you get on stage. One of the things that makes a comedian sensational, and I think I can go through a list. I mean, you guys could put names in the chat right now of comedians who have an ability to be quick with their wit, to be able to snap and say things off the cuff very quickly and with, and it doesn't need to punch down or anything like that, just very quick to respond that gets a laugh. That's a really good beginning to being a good comedian. And being able to quickly come back with something and retort, and you don't always have to insult, but and to come up with things quickly, to identify where a conversation is going, and already hear a joke before that conversation's finished. It's a thing. It's like there are some musicians out there who can just know the next note. They just know how to improvise and just go places, and they're just sensational. There's a lot of that makes up a great comedian. But the one thing is bombing, and every great comedian, no matter how fast their wit is, will bomb, and you need to bomb. I say this all the time, mistakes make you better, right? You have to bomb. Trust me, if you take up comedy or music, anything, and you have a run of every time you perform, everything goes right, and everybody tells you you're great, oh man, when it goes wrong, you're fucked, because it will crush. And what are 5 countermeasures when bombing in stand-up comedy? I'm going to give you 5 countermeasures when you're bombing. And this is obviously going to work. Well, it's hard if you're doing stand-up. If you're doing comedy here on YouTube, all you've got to rely on is looking at the chat and seeing if people are writing ha 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 and LOL. You can't hear any laughter. And that's one of the hardest, that's the difference between stand-up and doing comedy here on YouTube is the comedian feeds off the laughter, and the laughter can take the joke to another place because the more laughs that come in, you know to continue on down this path. This is working. Let's keep this going. You can veer off the script that you have, that you've been touring across the entire world for the last year, telling that routine. You can go off. You can go off into another place because the crowd is letting you know you can take this further. And the more you say, it just keeps going, the laughter, and then it normally gets to applause, and that's your end, right? And we'll get to callbacks because that is definitely one of the single most important parts of comedy is a callback, especially if you've had a moment where you've had that run-on of laughs and something's worked, right? Then you know that's your callback. There's your end of your show right there. And you'll notice a lot of comedians end like that. Right, they have a running joke throughout, and it is that callback, and then there's a gap in that the third quarter of the routine, and everybody's forgot about that callback that's already come up 2 or 3 times, and then by the time you get to the end, everybody's forgotten, and boom, there's that callback to say goodbye. But bombing on stage. How do you bomb? How do you get around the bombing? The people not laughing, calling out bullshit at you. I've had it. I've been at comedy shows where I've performed and seen somebody get punched on stage. I've been punched on stage. Somebody didn't like me and they punched me. That was at a gig, a musical gig. Before we go into these, hello Edward Richard. Hello Lady Campion. Is there anyone else new that I may have missed? Seagull Rock Squawk. Cementex Cow. What is that? Javelle, hello. I think if I've missed you, I do apologise. I'm trying to keep up with chat over here and keep the show rolling. We got Pete Johns coming up after this with YML. Just to let you know, we've got an ad coming up in about 7 minutes' time. Boom, diddly boom. So, hello, Chad. I think I said hello to you at the start. All right. Bombing. Crowd work and situational jokes. So you're bombing. Or you're receiving abuse. You're bombing. Crowd work is your way. And you see this happen all the time. If you've ever been to stand-up shows, crowd work is the perfect way. But it can go even further wrong, crowd work. This happened to me. I remember a show I did in Sydney, and it was a small comedy club. And I was a warm-up act. There were 2 acts, a headline act after and another act after me. And not everybody was there yet. And I don't know, there was just a weird vibe there. It's funny how you roll up to a gig and you can feel a weird vibe. But you go out there, of course, trying to change that vibe. And I had some people who just were talking continuously and being really loud. And I tried to bring them into the show, and the guy told me to go fuck myself. And it didn't work. It absolutely didn't work at all. But crowd work and situational jokes can help, self-deprecation, all that kind of stuff. If the audience is starting to fade away or lose interest in your material, try shifting the dynamic by engaging in crowd work. It happens all the time. Addressing the bomb. This can do wonders, right? It absolutely can do wonders. Addressing the bomb, acknowledging that it happened, that shit's not going right, and that can bring people in. Why does that work? Because there's a difference between addressing the audience bombing, or you bombing on stage, and explaining the joke, and I'll talk about that. All right, because it humanizes you. It actually can humanize you, because like there is this sense still in people who go to, remember, you go to a comedy show, not only are you just dealing with people who are hoping to laugh, you're dealing with people who are drinking alcohol. And you know what alcohol does to people? It turns them into fucking idiots, right? So you got to deal with that as well. And there are some people who come to comedy shows who have been told their whole life, hey, Jono, you're a real funny cunt, especially when you drink, Jono. And Jono's there in the audience and he's drinking and his mates are all there and they're like, "Go on, Jono, say something to the clown on the stage." And he yells out, "Suck my dick." And you just go, "Well, I would, Jono, but you don't fit in my mouth." And Jono gets upset, doesn't he? Because Jono thinks he's the comedian. He thinks he's the star. And it's really hard to acknowledge. And that's when you acknowledge your failures. I think I'm failing as a comedian because obviously Jono's better than me. So everybody, let's bring Jono up and watch how Jono won't come up on stage. But addressing the bomb is a really good way to go because it humanizes you and it shows vulnerability and you're able to crawl out of that hole because people actually will pay attention. But these are tactics that you can use, you know. You can power through like a pro. Doesn't always work. Doesn't always work. Powering through. It sometimes, from my experience, can get a lot worse. Yeah, exactly, Chris. You know what's not hard, Jono? Exactly. There's so many lines you can throw at Jono. It's just, but you've got to be able to read the room, don't you? Because if Jono is like, you know, one of these types, Jono might run up on stage and murder you. Because people are insane. Since the 2020 thing that went down, people have lost their minds. They don't even know how to interact with anyone anymore. They just want to fight and call each other fuckheads and they just want to be terrible. So, you know, well, it depends on how big my mouth is. And my mouth's pretty big, but it's not big enough for Jono because he's a big cock. And, well, you know, he might take that as a compliment because Jono probably does think about cock a lot. That's the problem, you know. So you can educate the audience. I love this one. So this is a cheat sheet from something I've had for years that I've got in front of me. Sometimes the environment or audience behavior can contribute to bad performance. In these cases, it's okay to educate the audience about the nature of stand-up comedy. I probably wouldn't go for this. I probably wouldn't explain what stand-up comedy. This is called explaining the joke. But look, the best thing is be consistent and just don't give up. That's the most important thing. Just push through 100%. And, you know, you get through it because you deserve to bomb. Let me tell you that. You absolutely 100% deserve to bomb. And it sounds terrible, but you'll be so much better for it because here's the thing. When you bomb and you don't react, right, and you don't give a reaction or you don't, you just, yeah, you push through it. You don't come up with the right comebacks, all this stuff. Trust me, afterwards, you will go home and have 1,000,000 comebacks in your fucking head. You'll have so many of them. And you'll be like, that one, oh, that would have been so good. That one would have been so good. That one would have been. And this is where the art of writing down this stuff can come in very, very handy. Lady Campion's here. Let's turn up the swearing. What do you think of that, Lady Campion? Was that Disney enough for you? All right. Never, ever, ever explain your joke. Don't do it. No matter how hard you think it may help. Don't do it. You're not an encyclopedia or a dictionary. If nobody understood the joke, don't explain it because now you're a storyteller, right? This is it. You're a storyteller. And nobody wants to go and listen to somebody just tell stories. What's this? If like any art, if you want to understand the art's comedian, then become one. Talk to one. Otherwise, it's easy to judge the feelings rather than logic. Judge with feelings rather than logic. Okay. Princess, I love Disney. The thing is, there's no room for logic in comedy, right? It can go, but if you're explaining a joke, you're in trouble, right? It's the worst thing. Explaining a joke to an audience is like being a wounded bird and in front of a car. You're just waiting for that car. They're going to speed up on you and they're going to take you out. Yeah, they're going to run over you. As soon as you show weakness, especially with alcohol and meatheads, especially here in Australia, I've done some comedy gigs that are, good Lord, out in the bush, and the people are like, they're not the brightest people, They're really stupid country hicks with, there's not much intelligence there. But so it's hard. You want to be edgy and stuff and tell your routines, because it's a difference between jokes and comedy, right? That's the thing. I'll tell you a story. So we'll run the ad, we do an ad, and then I'm going to run through some stories and things that I've seen in comedy. Because, man, some people are just, the way people perceive comedians as well is very, very strange after you've performed. So at the halfway point of every show, we run an ad here on the channel. You can avoid the ad by becoming a premium member or just click skip and come back to the show. The ad's been run. It also gives me a point later on to set up my ads for the show. Let me tell you what's going on the channel while we're waiting for those who got served an ad. What's happening tomorrow on the show, very excited. We're taking a look at this bitch right here. I'm going to be we're doing a 2-hour special tomorrow, creating music with Udio and Suno, 2 of these blockbuster AI music apps, and I'm going to expose to you folks how they do it, because I have found how they do it and found where they're getting their data sets from. It's going to be very fascinating. It's an expose on these new music creation things, and we're going to create some stuff with it and show you just how scary this shit is, where we're going with this, because it's a bit fucking stupid. Then the day after that, we are taking a look at the wonderful, if I can find it, Zinematics has just had a major update. So we're taking a look at this. It's had a huge price drop. Used to be worth $1,100. Now it's $19. So worth your time. And we're taking a look at another app that I can't find here because the thumbnail's so fucking old. There it is. Async Sampler is another one we're taking a look at. And this week's interview, I haven't done the thumbnail yet, that'll be up today, is with Mark Wade, a fantastic performer from within the community. All right. Where were we up to? Thank you so much, Mr. Smith, for the kind membership. And I did see also, where did I see that? Was that... Hang on a minute, let me scroll. Thank you, Robert, for the $2 super chat. Something's wrong with your speakers and you can't lip read. That would be me swearing, wouldn't it? Well, it's all right if Mickey Mouse runs out the room, because Mickey Mouse is now copyright free. You can use pictures of him now, so it's all good. You can draw dicks on his head and do whatever you want. Perfect. So you can draw one of these on on Mickey Mouse's head. Awesome stuff. I'll tell you. All right, let's talk about some things that I've seen. Being a comedian, and so there's a comedian I've interviewed here on the channel, Stephen K. Amos from the UK. He's a massive comedian. He tours the whole world. Right? He's of African descent and lives in the UK. And he's toured. He just finished a tour here in Australia. Currently, he's on television at the moment. On Australian television, on the television show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And that's been very eye-opening, seeing my friend, a comedian, on this TV show being exposed. Now, we would go out sometimes after he did a show. This is at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and he'd do a show, he'd finish up, we'd go and get drinks, and because he's African, and in Australia, we have a tendency to be really racist, right? That's just part of the Australian culture. And it's not like racist in a way like, I hate you for being, black. It's just natural things that people say that are deemed quite horrible. And when we were out walking, a bunch of guys came up to us, and he ran up to Stephen and me, and the guy went, "Hey, look, it's that black on television." And it was like, did you just... And we both just stood there going, what did he just say? Did he just say, that's that black from television? And then one of the guys went, tell us a joke, funny black. Like, what? But comedians don't tell jokes. They have routines. They have like whole routines. And am I being too woke for saying that's like fucked up, dude? And man, there've been times I've been out with comedians and we've been having dinner, and people have like we were eating in a restaurant, and the table was situated at the front of the restaurant at the glass windows of the restaurant, and people walked past the window and was stopping and banging on the window going, tell us a fucking joke. And one guy came in to the restaurant and went, tell us a joke, mate. Tell us a joke. It's really strange because, like, as a musician, you never see people just come up to you and go, play us a riff, sing us a song. No, but comedians have this pressure wherever they go of fuckwits coming up and going, tell us a joke, make me laugh, like they owe you to fucking laugh. Like they're there they're just there to make you laugh. There's nothing else that they don't have feelings. They're just people they're just there to make you laugh because you fucking need to laugh. And it's a very strange behavior. And you don't see a lot of comedians talk about this stuff because it's horrific, and it's really. I was horrified by seeing this kind of stuff happen, and I've seen so many cases of it everywhere. Everybody wants a joke. Everybody wants you to make them laugh, and I don't know. Comedians just aren't there to like make you laugh 24 hours a day. It's a profession, I guess. So, but again, talking within the comedy group, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's a lot of comedians. I went and saw a comedian, I'm not going to say his name, really big comedian here in Australia. He was really big in the 80s and 90s, and he had some hit songs because he had a hit album and was doing really well, and then he just disappeared off the map and was gone. And then, thank you, Pookie, for the gifted memberships. Mwah. Mwah. Thank you, Pookie. That's very kind of you. 10 people now have memberships to the channel. Thank you so much. What was I saying? I've lost my train of thought now. Come back. Brain, where are you? We'll go, this comedian. So I went and saw this comedian. He hadn't done gigs for ages, and then he comes back. And so he hasn't been popular for years and years. He finally does a show at the comedy festival. I got tickets. I was so excited. I went with my partner. We were so pumped. The show was sold out. Unfortunately, he was going through a bit of divorce with his wife. And he had a pretty full-on drinking problem. And he'd been signed to do this whole comedy festival. And he got up on stage and started out really strong and was really funny. And it was like he hadn't lost his step. But as the comedy show went on, he was reaching for that bottle, and pouring a drink and pouring a drink and pouring a drink. And by about halfway through, the jokes had turned to, fuck, I hate my fucking ex-wife, and I'm going to saw her head off with a fucking saw. And it very quickly became not very funny. And everybody was really uncomfortable. And I guess you could say we were all really woke because, like, this guy was, like, actually talking about murdering his wife. And then he went down the path of, I'm going to, like, myself. And people started leaving. It's like, this is really uncomfortable, man. This guy's having a breakdown on stage. But he thought he was funny. He thought like this stuff was really biting, and he was so smashed. Comedy can go wrong very quickly, right? And before this, he was a very dangerous comedian. All right, very dangerous comedian who said a lot of dangerous stuff. So this leads me to, here we are. We got 20 minutes left, and let's talk about the danger, the real danger of comedy, and that is, look, comedy walks the line, and I mentioned earlier, comedy can be quite truthful, and it can hurt sometimes, and you fall down and cut yourself, and get a cut on your arm, you put a Band-Aid on, and the Band-Aid heals your arm, but you've still got to tear that Band-Aid off, and it still is going to hurt at some point. So there's pain to be, there's always going to be pain around truth. And I'm not talking the truth that, the fucking lunatics are talking about, like flat earth and all the weird shit that you see on the internet these days. Like, the paranoia of people that think they're all being spied on and like they're that important and all that weird shit. I'm talking about the truths, right, that politics, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of truths out there. And as a trans person, let me talk about this, right, because my take on edgy humor and being hardcore and saying things that people might not like to hear, as a trans person, there's been a lot of, stuff going around like, oh, this comedian really hates trans people by the jokes that they say. And in my opinion, I like being included in a comedian's set. I like hearing a joke about trans people. I like that. That means I'm a part of the world, of society, right? And I wish there were more trans people who understood that, because the goal is that you want to be equal and you want to be included in the jokes, right? And a lot of the time jokes about trans people can be funny, right? So I'm all for that kind of thing. I believe that, when I see jokes like that, I think that's great. Yes, we are part of the narrative. Thank you. It's a sign that things are changing in the world. I think where it gets dangerous, or not dangerous, I think where it gets kind of hateful is when it's just focused so much, and there's a outside belief of like walking away and saying, yeah, but outside I fucking hate those people, right? So, because there is that. No matter what, you can fucking lie to yourself all you want. There are comedians out there who will punch down so hard and then go on Twitter and go, yeah, I fucking hate these people. So, is that woke? Am I woke for like going, you know what, that comedian's a douche nozzle? Because he fucking actually really fucking is about that kind of hatred. There's a difference between actually being incredibly hateful and using that to project jokes, and then there's a difference between telling jokes because this is the world we live in, and we're a world of many, many different people with many, many different ideas, and, there's a complete difference. And if people can't see that on either sides of, left, right, whatever you want to call it, there is a new definition. It's become a catch cry of like, poor me, I'm a fucking... I'm the real victim. That's my opinion, but it is. Make fun of everybody. I have friends who are so upset about South Park, right? And it's like, I don't see the harm in South Park. I laugh my tits off at South Park. It's like Grand Theft Auto. There are people who cry about Grand Theft Auto. Oh, but it's marginalising me. No, it's not. Everybody is... You've got to take a look at the broader picture. People have to have a look at the broader picture and see, is this a focused attack on a specific group of people, or is this a broader narrative of everybody? And South Park is the perfect example of that. South Park they just get everybody. Everyone's fodder. And that's the way it should be. Everyone is fodder. Right? I don't look at South Park as punching down. I look at South Park as punching forward. Right? Because punching up's like a lot of the time unfunny. Punching down's just hateful. And punching forward is fucking just giving it out. It's just like a steamroller pushing through everybody, right? So, look, there's plenty of room for edgy humour, but I guess with everything, you've got to read the room, don't you? You're not going to go to a feminist convention and walk out and go, hey, aren't all women useless cunts? Like, you're not going to do that unless you don't want to work anymore. Like, there's got to be, like, some sense of, like, if that's your employment, you're not going to go out and do, I mean, you can if that's your narrative, but you're not going to get work. I'm talking about if you want to be a working comedian. Nobody's going to book you if your whole thing is to go out and say, all right, well, I'm doing a gig at a handicapped centre. Let me just go out and just shit all over, just fucking like a whole constant show, and you're all just a bunch of fucking. No, yeah. I mean, read the room. That's the thing. Now, I want to talk about character-driven comedy, because character-driven comedy is possibly one of the easiest forms of comedy to get into. And I've been doing character-driven comedy for a really, really long time. But here's the key to it. So Gladys Worthington is one of my characters, and I've got another character that I used to do around the comedy circuit in Sydney called Dick Tucker, right? Get it? Dick Tucker? But the whole concept was it was a sleazy. Anyway, that's a different character. But Gladys Worthington, the key to a great character when doing comedy. Yeah. All right, let's talk about this before I go. Every time I go to a comedy show, I sit up the front. I don't give a shit because I want to be included in the show. I want to be a part of it. I want to feel like I'm there. I want to feel like he's going to look at me and at any time he could turn around and go, you. And that has happened so many times. What's his name? The writer from The Simpsons and used to write for, oh, fuck. My brain's gone down. Anyway, oh, fuck. I can't think of his fucking name. He does a character. He does a yokel fucking musician. I can't think of his fucking name. Anyway, if his name pops into my head. Anyway, I went to a show, and so he's a big American comedian, wrote for Simpsons, a whole lot of fucking big comedians, big late night TV shows. And he does Otis Crenshaw. Otis Crenshaw is his character. Is that right? Otis Crenshaw, I think. Otis Lee Crenshaw. This is the character. Here he is. Otis Lee Crenshaw by Rich Hall. All right, so Rich Hall is the comedian. You probably know who Rich Hall is if you're an American. So I went to see Otis Lee Crenshaw. This is his little character that he does. And at the show, I sat up the front, and he picked me out of the audience, and he started flirting with me all the way through the show. Now, I didn't look like this. It was a time back in the day, right? Back in the day. And he flirted with me at the Melbourne Comedy Festival all the way through the show, and he kept flirting with me all the way through the show, and I kept, like, flirting back. And then at the end of the show, as he said, hey, I'll get your number after the show, I went, I've got a dick. And the show ended like that. And it was fucking, it was something to behold, let me tell you that. So you go, like, I don't go to get offended, I go to laugh my fucking ass off. And, you know, if I get offended, that makes me laugh even more. But I guess that's, you got to decide what you want from comedy. But let me just talk briefly on Gladys Worthington. So the reason Gladys Worthington exists is because it's a character. Now, Gladys Worthington is extremely racist because old people are racist. We've all got those grandparents that say really inappropriate racist shit because they came from a different era. So the beautiful thing with character-driven comedy is you can create a backstory. And unless you have a good backstory, that character-driven comedy will not work. It will flop. If you just say, I just turn up somewhere as Gladys, no backstory, on some show, it's not going to work because people are like, hang on, that's clearly somebody dressing like an old lady. I don't get it. What's the backstory? There needs to be context for the character. The character has to have some kind of fucking story. Like, who are they? What does she do? Gladys is a sex and relationship counselor. She always has been. She's got a gay son. She's 80. She's a lesbian. There's just a story that has manifested over the years with my character Gladys. So by the time I get up and do the performance, you know what she's going to say. You know it's going to be offensive because old people say things that are offensive. They say people are black bastards and they say this shit, right? So as a character, you can actually, if you manifest the backstory, That's where this kind of humor will work. But if there's no backstory, it will fall flat, it will die, and people will just be like, what? What's happening here? And trust me, I did a show as Gladys Worthington. And hi, Zach and Queen Bee and anyone else I have missed. So I did a show as Gladys Worthington, and I sung a song, which I do, which is it's about being old, and it was at a lesbian gig that I'd been booked at, and I sung this song about being old. And halfway through the song, they turned the power off on me, and they virtually pulled out the hook. And I stopped and looked, and the producer was going, ah. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And then I had to walk off stage, and I went up to the producer and was like, what's going on? We had two complaints out of 600 people complained saying I was ageist. That's the point of the fucking joke. It's an old woman being having dementia and being utterly ageist about herself. Like, that's the fucking joke. Two people complained and they ripped me off the stage. And then the manager had the balls to say, I hope you're going to come back and do your final performance as your other character. And I was like, go fuck yourself. There's no way I'm coming back to do that. Pay me. I'm leaving. Right? So people can still take things out of context. But it's a hard one with Gladys. And why am I telling you? Why is this show even happening today? Because comedy is hard. And if you're going to try and do it, go for it, right? But try and read the room. Try and remember to, ultimately not be hateful. Like, because it can go hateful very quickly. Like, I've seen so many comedians who were really good at walking the line and being edgy, and I love fucking really dark, edgy humor. I fucking love it so much. I love pushing buttons right to the fucking point, and it's like edging when you, right? But some comedians get so wrapped up in, I don't know, I guess like towing the line of the fucking dick swinging club, of trying to impress their fucking boyfriends or whatever it is, that it's like, that they become hateful. And it's very easy to become hateful as a comedian. It really is, especially in today's environment, because today's environment there's a lot of hate around. And, people get drawn into it very easy. They feed off it. And it's you may not think you've been pulled into it, but that's the biggest danger of comedy, I feel, at the moment, is not being aware enough to see outside of your own blinkers and your own, love that people are giving you, to realize that you may be going down a very hateful path. It's a good thing to keep in check as a comedian, and just keep a lid on it. Spread the jokes evenly. spread them out, right? So there is another reason why we're talking about this today, and let me tell you what that is. Because kicking off this week and going every last week in every month on this channel, there will be no opening hour. I've been doing opening hours, 150 episodes of the opening hour for so long now, and I need to make a change. And so now at the end of each month, the last Saturday, if you're in the US or UK, the last Saturday of every month here on the channel will be a new show. And it kicks off this week coming, and it is Asking for a Friend with Gladys Worthington. So, what is this show about? Let's briefly tell you. Instead of me sitting up there performing songs for you all, like I normally do, Gladys will take over the airwaves, and she will be answering your questions. And there's a link that I've just posted in there. The show is already up on the channel, and there is a link and a form for you to send Gladys Worthington your questions. And let me read you out just a quick thing for the show. Welcome to Asking for a Friend, the charmingly unconventional unconventional advice show where your host, Gladys Worthington, tackles life's big and small questions with wisdom, wit, and absolutely no qualifications whatsoever. Whether it's relationships, health, creativity, or even politics, Gladys is here to answer your burning questions, share her thoughts, stir the pot, and maybe make sense of it all, but no promises. Be sure to send your questions using the form below to be included on the show, asking for a friend, but answering for a nation, for the world. Join Gladys for all the fun. So this will be kicking off this Saturday. So the link to the form is in that little post, and it's on the description of the actual video. So please, you can send as many questions as you want. You can put your name as whatever you want. I don't give a shit. You go do whatever you want. You be a comedian. You try and trip me up. You throw everything at me you can, but I will be selecting the best questions, and I'll be selecting them, let me tell you, at least 10 minutes before the show. I will not be looking at them. I'll be selecting them 10 minutes before the show, and I'll maybe even just put a randomizer on them so I don't know what they're going to be. And I'm just going to wing it and see where it goes, right? And it's probably going to go down some really bad places. But that's what comedy is. It's dangerous. And somebody could get hurt. And then it's just hilarious. Okay, a quote from Faith No More there. Let's get out of here for today. Thank you for hanging out and listening to me rant as usual. Next week's rant is on something around the thing called AI. And is it the end of the world? We shall find out. Tomorrow we're taking a look at AI and we're making music with AI, and I'm going to show you how these services are scraping the data, and they're using possibly your songs to generate this stuff. But we're going to go with today's featured artist, who is Liz Day. She is performing today also in a few hours' time. I think it's in 9, 10, 11 to 3 hours' time, her live show. So we're going to play one of her tracks from last week's show that she did on her live performance. Pete Johns is up next with YML. Remember, don't be woke, stay awake. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better, and we'll all rise together. This is Liz Day with a cover from Weezer called Hashpipe. Oge.
Going back in time.
It's not just book roulette. It's book roulette of songs that I don't know. Weezer. It's a Weezer song.
I can't help but feeling I got on my mind. Players out to get me cause they love my behind. Can't love my business if I can't get a trick. Down on Santa Monica with tricks of our kids. Come on and kick me. Come on and kick me. Come on and kick me. I got my problems, you got yours. I got my eyes wide. You got your big J's, but I got my hash pipe. I can't help my focus if I can't get out of control. I know that you don't care, but I want you to know. He's talking flavor, he's the flavor of trade. A man that don't bother to taste with the trade. Oh, come on and kick me. You're gonna do it anyway. Oh, come on and kick me. Oh, come on and kick me. You got your problems. Oh, I got my eyes wide. Whoa, I got my big cheese. I got my hash pipe. I got it.
done lost her mind.
I got one more thing to say before we go. I just want to give you a quote. It's not the note you play, that's the wrong note. It's the note you play afterwards that makes it right or wrong. That's Oj.